30,000 square foot estate.
This impressive property still remains, and a lot of stories here.
John Wayne lived his life in the spotlight, but his Newport Beach mansion remained shrouded in mystery for decades. After his passing in 1979, the estate was sealed away like a forgotten Western set, concealing every trace of his private world. Then in 2011, the doors were finally unlocked, revealing a trove of movie props, personal secrets, and a shocking will that sent shockwave through his family and fans. Childhood full of accidents. Wayne entered the world as Marion Robert Morrison, weighing a staggering 13 pounds, so remarkable that the local newspaper took notice. From the very beginning, he seemed destined for something bigger. At just 3 years old, he nearly drowned after falling into an icy creek, only to be saved by a passing stranger. That early brush with death set the tone for a life built on resilience. His first transformation came early. When his parents had another son, they gave the baby the name Robert, and Marion's middle name was changed to Mitchell. It was a small shift, but it foreshadowed the many reinventions that lay ahead. His family moved to Glendale, California after his father's business failed. There he earned the nickname Duke because of his beloved Airedale Terrier, also named Duke. The local firefighters called them Big Duke and Little Duke, and the name stuck. Football was his first love. In 1925, he landed a scholarship to the University of Southern California, where he studied pre-law and joined the Sigma Chi fraternity. But a body surfing accident ended his football career and cost him his scholarship. What seemed like a disaster turned out to be fate in disguise. In 1927, he took a job as a prop man at Fox Studios, earning $35 a week. His first time on screen wasn't as an actor, but as an uncredited football player in Brown of Harvard. During this time, he caught the attention of director John Ford. Ford saw potential in him and suggested a stronger name. After some deliberation, they chose John Wayne, a name that would soon become legendary. Tough road to stardom. Wayne's early acting years were rough. Till 1939, he appeared in more than 80 low-budget westerns. Money was tight, so tight that he sometimes survived on a single meal a day, usually a can of beans heated on a hot plate. His struggles had him thinking about quitting acting for good. Then came Stagecoach in 1939, the film that changed everything. Casting Wayne wasn't easy. The studio wanted a big name like Gary Cooper. But director John Ford fought for him, even threatening to walk away if Wayne wasn't cast. Wayne played the Ringo Kid, an outlaw with a strong moral code. His first scene, where the camera zooms in as he twirls his rifle, became legendary. It lasted only a few seconds, but he was so nervous, it took 27 takes to get it right. Stagecoach was a hit, earning 7 Academy Award nominations and winning 2. Overnight, Wayne became a star. Yet despite the film's success, he was paid just $3,700, far less than Hollywood's top actors. Still, it was enough to cement his image as the ultimate Western hero. He turned down roles in The Maltese Falcon and High Noon to stick with his cowboy persona, a choice that made him a symbol of American toughness. Wayne and Ford worked together for over 50 years, making 14 films that shaped Hollywood. Their relationship was complicated. Ford was a tough director, and Wayne often bore the brunt of it. On the set of The Searchers, Ford made him redo a simple scene, picking up a gun 17 times in front of the crew, humiliating him. Wayne never complained, believing Ford's harshness made him better. Their last film together, Donovan's Reef, nearly didn't happen. Wayne felt too old and Ford was in poor health. They shot in Hawaii under brutal heat, with Ford so sick he was sometimes directed from a stretcher. Despite the struggles, they finished the film, proving their bond lasted until the very end. First shot at Oscar Gold. Wayne's first Oscar nomination came in 1949 for Sands of Iwo Jima, where he played the tough-as-nails Marine Sergeant John Stryker. At first, he didn't want the role. He felt it was too similar to characters he had already played. But Republic Pictures president, Herbert Yates, personally convinced him by offering a staggering $250,000, plus a share of the profits. At the time, that was an enormous payday. The film wasn't easy to make. Director Alan Duane wanted the battle scenes to feel as real as possible, using actual flamethrowers and explosives. This commitment to authenticity led to several on-set injuries, including one explosion that knocked Wayne unconscious for 30 minutes. Filming had to stop for 2 days while he recovered. Adding to the realism, the movie incorporated real combat footage from the Battle of Iwo Jima, courtesy of the U.S. Marine Corps. The war footage blended so seamlessly with the stage scenes that many viewers believed the entire film was real. One of its most iconic moments was the recreation of the flag raising on Mount Suribachi. To make it even more authentic, the filmmakers used the original battle flag and cast 3 of the surviving Marines who had raised it. Despite the film's critical and commercial success and Wayne's commanding performance, he lost the Best Actor Oscar to Broderick Crawford in All the King's Men. The irony? Wayne had turned down the lead role in All the King's Men because he thought the film was un-American. Wayne's greatest gamble. By 1960, John Wayne had already cemented his status as a Hollywood legend, but he was chasing a dream that had haunted him for over 15 years, making The Alamo. This wasn't just another movie for him, it was his passion project, his chance to tell an American legend the way he believed it should be told. But bringing that vision to life came at an enormous cost. Wayne didn't just act in The Alamo, he directed and produced it, putting everything he had on the line. He mortgaged his house, cars, and even his boat to help finance the film, which ballooned to a staggering $12 million, a fortune at the time. Determined to make it as authentic as possible, he insisted on building a full-scale replica of the Alamo in Texas. It took 2 years, more than 1 million adobe bricks, and period-accurate details. The set was so impressive that it later became a tourist attraction, remaining open until 2009. Filming was grueling. Over 7,000 extras, 1,500 horses, and extreme Texas heat made production a test of endurance. The intense battle sequences led to real injuries, including one extra who needed 26 stitches after being struck with a bayonet. But Wayne refused to cut corners. He wanted the battle to feel raw, brutal, and true to history. When the Alamo premiered, it was a spectacle. A grand parade, fireworks, and a massive Hollywood rollout set the stage for what Wayne hoped would be his crowning achievement. The film earned 7 Oscar nominations, including Best Picture, but critics were divided. Worse, the box office returns couldn't cover its enormous costs. Wayne, who had hoped for recognition as a director, wasn't even nominated in that category, a disappointment that stung deeply. Despite the financial struggles, The Alamo left a lasting mark, shaping how generations would remember the legendary battle. A decade later, Wayne finally got his long-awaited Oscar moment with True Grit, where he played Rooster Cogburn, a one-eyed, tough-as-nails U.S. Marshal. At first, he almost turned it down. He felt too old and was still recovering from lung cancer surgery. But after reading the novel, he realized this was the role of a lifetime. Filming wasn't easy. The cold Colorado weather and high altitude were brutal on his health, forcing him to use an oxygen tank between scenes. In one dangerous moment, his horse stumbled on a steep hill, nearly throwing him off. He tore a muscle in his shoulder but powered through. To play Cogburn, Wayne gained weight and wore an eye patch that made it difficult to see, forcing him to memorize the sets so he wouldn't bump into things. His performance was unlike anything he had done before, gruff, humorous, and deeply human. Audiences loved it, and True Grit became one of the biggest hits of his career, grossing over $31 million. When he finally won his Oscar, he took the stage, battling the flu, but refusing to miss the moment. His famous acceptance line, "If I'd known this, I'd have put that patch on 35 years earlier." Some critics saw the award as a lifetime achievement rather than just for True Grit, and Wayne himself later admitted it felt that way. But regardless, Rooster Cogburn became one of his most iconic characters, and the film's success secured his place as one of Hollywood's greatest stars. He fell for his co-star. In 1933, Josephine Saenz married a young and ambitious John Wayne, but by the 1940s, her husband was no longer just an actor. He was a full-fledged Hollywood star. With his growing fame came long hours on set, endless social events, and an increasingly distant marriage. Josephine saw little of him, but Wayne's absence was nothing compared to his betrayal. While filming Seven Sinners in 1940, Wayne met Marlene Dietrich, a glamorous actress with a reputation for getting what she wanted. Upon meeting him, Dietrich famously turned to the film's director and said, "Daddy, buy me that." Wayne, caught in her spell, quickly found himself entangled in a passionate affair. Dietrich offered Wayne the kind of excitement he craved. Unlike his wife, who preferred a quiet family life, Dietrich thrived in the world of fame, parties, and adventure. She could be elegant one moment and join Wayne on a hunting trip the next. For years, he lived two lives, one as a devoted family man and another as a Hollywood playboy. But eventually the truth came out. One day, Wayne returned home to find a priest waiting for him. Josephine had sought marriage counseling, hoping to save their crumbling relationship. She was well aware of his affairs. Dietrich was only one of many, but Wayne had no intention of changing. In 1940, they welcomed their fourth child, but it wasn't enough to mend their broken marriage. By 1945, their divorce was finalized. Wayne had already moved on, leaving Dietrich behind for another woman, one who would later come dangerously close to ending his life. His new wife was a nightmare. John Wayne thought he had found his perfect match in Esperanza Chata Boer. The moment he laid eyes on her, he was hooked, despite still being married to Josephine Science. Their affair was the final blow to his already crumbling marriage. But Chata had no intention of keeping things quiet. She called Wayne at home, making her presence impossible to ignore. For Josephine, that was it. Enough was enough. Wayne came home one day, likely straight from Chata's arms, only to find his belongings scattered across the lawn. Josephine had kicked him out, and their marriage was over. But Wayne wasn't heartbroken. He married Chata almost immediately, convinced he had found true love. What he didn't realize was that his new wife wasn't just passionate, she was dangerously unpredictable. Wayne would later describe their marriage as like shaking two volatile chemicals in a jar. The passion was undeniable, but so was the chaos. Chata's jealousy knew no bounds. She despised Wayne for visiting his children and lived in constant paranoia that he was unfaithful. Given how their own romance began, she had every reason to suspect him. But her reaction went far beyond reason. Wayne, for his part, wanted it both ways. He could play the devoted husband and father when it suited him, but he wasn't about to give up the Hollywood nightlife. One evening, he stayed out late with friends, and back home, Chata stewed in jealous rage. By the time he returned, she had spiraled into a frenzy. A tipsy John Wayne staggered home in the early hours, expecting nothing more than a scolding from his fiery wife. Instead, he opened the door to a nightmare. Esperanza Chata Boer was waiting, wide awake, her hands steady, and a gun pointed straight at him. No one knows exactly how that night ended, but one thing was certain. She didn't pull the trigger. Wayne walked away unharmed, but his marriage didn't. After 9 tumultuous years, Wayne had finally had enough. Chata's jealousy, paranoia, and now an actual firearm had pushed their marriage past the point of no return. Their divorce was anything but quiet. Chata, furious and vengeful, publicly accused Wayne of infidelity, cruelty, and even physical abuse. The scandal threatened to tarnish his reputation, but Wayne wasn't going down without a fight. The courtroom battle took an unexpected turn when Chata's own secrets came to light. She had been having an affair with none other than Playboy socialite Conrad Hilton Jr. The revelation was a knockout blow. Wayne won the divorce, but he wasn't planning to stay single for long. Before the ink was even dry, he was already setting his sights on his next wife. Another love, another tragedy. Fresh off his disastrous divorce, John Wayne found solace in work. Until work led him to something, or rather someone, far more captivating. While scouting film locations in Peru, he found himself on a local set, mesmerized by a breathtaking woman performing a sultry dance by firelight. When the camera stopped rolling, the director introduced them. Wayne gave her a slow once-over and simply said, "That was quite a dance." The rest of that night, lost to history. But you can guess what happened next. Her name was Pilar Palete, and from the moment Wayne saw her, he was hooked. There was just one problem. He was still married. That didn't stop him. He pursued Pilar relentlessly, and by the time his divorce from Chata was finalized, he wasted no time. That very same day, Wayne and Pilar were married. To her, it must have felt like a fairy tale. But in reality, it was far from it. Hollywood was nothing like the dream she imagined. The cultural shock, the pressure, and the constant presence of the media weighed heavily on her. She struggled to sleep, and soon sleeping pills became her escape. What started as a quick fix turned into something far darker. As Wayne dragged her from set to set, her addiction deepened. Then came the breaking point. While in Louisiana, overwhelmed and exhausted, Pilar took too many pills, and hallucinations set in. This was her rock bottom. And Wayne's reaction? Cold and pragmatic. Instead of staying by her side, he did what he did best, kept working. He arranged for nurses to escort her back to California, then returned to filming as if nothing had happened. John Wayne's final battle. In 1964, John Wayne received devastating news. He had lung cancer. It was shocking, but not surprising. For years, he had smoked up to 6 packs of cigarettes a day. To save his life, doctors removed his left lung and 2 ribs in a risky surgery. Wayne beat the odds and lived cancer-free for 5 years. Most would have kept such a diagnosis private, but not Wayne. His advisors warned that speaking out could hurt his career, but he didn't care. Instead, he used his fame to encourage others to get checked for cancer, even giving the disease a nickname, the Big C, to make it less frightening. Just a year after his surgery, he appeared in a TV commercial for the American Cancer Society, urging people to support cancer research. But cancer wasn't finished with him. In 1979, Wayne was diagnosed with stomach cancer. Desperate to fight it, he tried an experimental vaccine, but it wasn't enough. Even as his health declined, he refused to stay silent. From his hospital bed, he recorded messages asking for more funding for cancer research. Just weeks before his death, he told people, "They might find a cure for cancer without your help, but I wouldn't bet my life on it." His final film, The shrouded, mirrored his own life. He played an aging gunfighter dying of cancer, a role that hit painfully close to home. Wayne was already in poor health, often needing oxygen between scenes. But in true Wayne fashion, he insisted on doing his own stunts. In one scene, he had to fall onto a hard floor repeatedly. He never complained. He even changed the film's ending, refusing to let his character be shot in the back, saying, "I've never shot a man in the back in any movie. Change it." On 11th June 1979, John Wayne passed away. President Jimmy Carter called him bigger than life and a true American hero. Thousands of fans left flowers, cowboy hats, and notes at his Hollywood star. Mystery of John Wayne's fortune. When John Wayne passed away, his estate was valued at $6.8 million, which is about $25 million today. For one of Hollywood's biggest stars, this seems surprisingly small. Many expected his fortune to be much larger, considering he was one of the highest-paid actors of his time. This led to speculation. Had Wayne spent most of his money during his lifetime, or had he simply been very generous? Adding to the mystery, not all of his assets were included in the estate. Just before his death, he sold his beloved yacht, Wild Goose, for $750,000. A former World War II minesweeper, the yacht was one of his most treasured possessions, making its sale even more puzzling. Wayne had a deep love for real estate, and his Newport Beach home was one of his most famous properties. He purchased it in 1965 and lived there until his death. The house, sitting right on the water with a view of Balboa Island, appeared modest from the street, but was luxurious inside, much like Wayne himself. In 1980, it sold for $5.5 million, a staggering amount for that era. Before settling in Newport Beach, Wayne had owned a 5-acre ranch in Encino, but at 58, he left the ranch life behind for a quieter existence by the water. He also owned properties in Arizona and Washington, proving his sharp eye for real estate. Once, he joked that moving to Newport Beach years earlier was a smart choice because, by then, I sure as hell couldn't afford it. Wayne's will sparked major controversy. The biggest shock? His third wife, Pilar Palete, received nothing. They had been married for over 20 years but separated in 1973. Instead, Wayne left most of his estate to his 7 children from his first 2 marriages. This decision fueled speculation about his relationship with Palette. The family drama didn't end there. In 2010, Wayne's daughter Isa sued her brother Ethan over her share of John Wayne Enterprises, further proving that dividing his fortune created lasting tensions that still lingered decades later. The time capsule auction. In 2011, something incredible happened for John Wayne fans. Over 700 personal items from his lifelong career went up for auction. The event, held at the High Century Plaza in Los Angeles, gave fans a rare chance to own pieces of the legendary actor's world. Many of these items had been locked away since he passed away. His home was sealed that very day, and everything inside was sent to storage. Over 30 years later, it was like opening a time capsule. The auction featured an incredible mix of items: costumes, props, awards, and even furniture from Wayne's home. Some pieces were particularly fascinating. His scripts showed how he worked, with the horse soldier's script filled with folded pages marking finished scenes, while others, like Wednesday Morning, were kept in pristine condition, revealing his organized nature. His collection of colorful neckerchiefs, a signature part of his style, sold for $1,700. Some sales broke records. The Green Beret from the Green Berets sold for $200,000, setting a record for a costume hat. His cowboy hat, worn in Big Jake and the Cowboys, fetched $119,000. His True Grit Golden Globe, tied to his only Oscar-winning role, sold for $150,000. Even ordinary items reached staggering prices. His last driver's license went for $89,000. The auction revealed more than just his movie career. It showed the man behind the legend. A gold-plated Winchester rifle he gifted to a friend sold for $113,000, highlighting his generosity. His personal book collection, filled with history and military strategy, offered insight into his interests. Even his seashell collection surprised fans, showing a softer side of Wayne that few had ever known. John Wayne interview that still sparks outrage. In 1971, John Wayne gave a Playboy interview that stirred controversy, and people are still debating it today. His most shocking remark? "I believe in white supremacy until the blacks are educated to a point of responsibility." At 63 and at the height of his fame, Wayne's words caused an uproar. But this wasn't a one-time slip. He had made similar comments before. In the same interview, he justified taking Native American land, calling it a matter of survival. He also attacked Midnight Cowboy, using a homophobic slur. For decades, these remarks were largely forgotten, but in 2019, a viral tweet reignited the debate. A screenwriter shared excerpts of the interview calling Wayne a terrible person. The internet exploded. Some called for him to be canceled, while others defended him, arguing that his legacy shouldn't be defined by a single interview. The controversy didn't just stay online, it had real-world consequences. John Wayne Airport in Orange County, named after him, became a target for renaming. While Orange County was once deeply conservative, shifting demographics made the issue even more contentious. Wayne's son Ethan defended him, insisting his father wasn't racist. As of 2025, the airport still bears his name, but the debate rages on. The fallout also reached the University of Southern California, where Wayne had once studied. In July 2020, USC removed an exhibit honoring him after students protested, saying his views made it unwelcoming. The ongoing debate raises a bigger question. Can you separate an artist's work from their beliefs? Let us know in the comments below.